Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Growing Orchids in Jamaica. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe so you see just how I grow orchids in Jamaica. For my subscribers, I just want to say thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And for those persons who have been visiting my channel and have not yet subscribed, thank you so much for visiting my channel. And I just hope one day you will subscribe. Today, I will be doing an highlight of my Phalaenopsis orchids and just basically show you how I grow them, the condition that I grow them in, and the medium that works best for me. I have been struggling somewhat with growing the Phalaenopsis orchids for some time now. Whilst they do very well in the area that I live in, because the area I live in, the rainfall at times are very high and the humidity is very high. And so they basically like the area that I live in because the area is not very hot. But what I find happen most of the time is that whilst they like the area and will strive and do very well in the area that I live in, the medium that I grow them in plays a critical role in terms of their survival. And so I am going to be showing you first the medium that I grow them in, the medium that works best for me, and why that medium works better for me when compared to the other one. And I basically will be doing a repotting and just show you exactly how I pot my Phalaenopsis orchids. So this is just basically showing you some of what I have in my collection. And most of these, I actually purchased them as seedling size orchids, just like that little one there in the middle or even smaller. And I grow them in different medium to see just what works best for me. And I believe I find the answer now. I just think at this time I know exactly which one works best for me. I have been doing a lot of research in terms of the Phalaenopsis orchids and what medium they grow in, because I find that when we grow them, they'll do well for a while, and then sometime thereafter you tend to start losing them. And I experiment and experiment, and I'm still experimenting because I am really trying different strategies. And right here in my setup, I actually just set up this area because it has been raining for some time, and it rains every afternoon. And so in order to do this properly, I had to just set up this area to show you just what I have and how I grow them. I actually grow them in different ways, and in my last video I actually highlighted some that I had under the almond tree that I am actually growing on the coconut husk, and they are doing fairly well so far, because if you notice this one here, it is actually spiking for me, and it has actually started rooting. If you notice, the root is there going into the coconut husk. Let me show you right here. I have another one show you that I have on the coconut husk. It is right here, and it too is actually rooting. If you notice the nice healthy root to the bottom here, So in a few months from now, I am sure that the roots are going to be covering the entire coconut husk. So the concept of growing the Phalaenopsis orchids on the coconut husk, I have to give credit to Sanjita from Green Fingers, another YouTuber who actually has been doing this and has been very, very successful with it. When I saw it on her channel, I did reach out to her and told her that I would try the concept, and she gave me some advice in terms of the best way and so forth. And so I have now tried it, and they are not fully established. However, they are doing fairly well, and I just can't wait to see them covered in roots similar to the ones that Sanjita has highlighted in her YouTube videos. For the others, no. During my research, I decided to follow a mixture that has been highlighted as one of the best Phalaenopsis mix ever. No, usually when I purchase my Phalaenopsis orchids, because of the medium that they come in and the area that I live in, they tend not to do very well. And this is what tend to happen. I tend to lose the roots, they get dry, or they will rot. I'm not sure how frequently to water and to feed because of the medium that they come in, especially when you buy them from the commercial growers. So when these orchids are purchased, they basically comes in some medium that consists of peat moss, a lot of sphagnum moss, bark, and if you notice right here, quite a number of moisture retentive medium. So the medium in this is actually now very mushy because it is wet right now, but yet the plant is not doing very well. So a couple years ago I bought another one, and I made a discovery which I'm going to be sharing with you in a little while. So they don't do well for me in this medium because either I'm going to overwater it or underwater it, and either way they just don't do well. So because of that, this is what the plant ends up looking like, because when I'm watering it, it seems as if I'm watering it too much, and then the roots start rotting, and because the roots are rotting, I decided to water it less. Then it's not getting enough water, and then the leaves start getting saggy and soft and wilted, and so it's just not doing very well. So this one, what I'm going to do in a little while, I'm going to repot it. So I'll show you just how I do that. I'm going to actually remove the top half of the plant because it's sending out some new roots, and then I'm going to leave the bottom half and hope that it will send out a new plant. Now, when I read up on the best medium for Phalaenopsis, this is a medium I came up with. One of the general medium that persons basically use. It has peat, perlite, charcoal, and some bark mix, a little of the bark mix. And I tried this. I started trying this last year, and it actually works. This plant, when I bought it, it was very, very small. It was a seedling size when I bought it. And if you compare it with this one that I bought as a blooming size, you'll notice the difference in terms of the leaf texture and all of that. So you realize that this medium works. And this is a medium that I have it in. However, what I find with it, it is also moisture retentive, and it works pretty well, especially in the summer months when it is really hot. So my Phalaenopsis orchids do very, very well for me in the summer month in this medium. However, during the colder period, and the rainy month, I realized that the medium gets very saggy, but not as saggy as the one that I bought this other one in, because it too maintains or keeps the moisture. However, I still have some healthy roots in it, and I would have lost one or two of the roots. And then the plants in it really does pretty well. So yes, it works, but no, I do not think it is a most ideal medium for me in my condition, especially all year round. Because whilst it does well during the summer months or the warmer months, for the colder months, it doesn't do pretty well for me. Because of course I have to water and feed much less. And you know the plants rely on that in order to strive. So this was what I came up with. And I actually tried this. And I'm going to show you in a while how gorgeous the plant is that I actually planted in this medium. I have a bit of bark in it, charcoal, and river stones. Interestingly, because most persons do not plant Phalaenopsis orchids in river stones. However, what I also do, I will add just bits and pieces of sphagnum moss to it. Not a lot, just enough to maintain a little moisture within the plant as you water. And believe me, guys, it takes a little while for it to become established, but once it has become established, you cannot hold this plant. So let me show you this one here. I recently did this one, and this was just a few months ago. But when I did it, I did not add the sphagnum moss, and I realized it was not maintaining or keeping enough moisture. And so I added a few pieces of sphagnum moss just to the top to hold a little more of the moisture in. And there goes. The leaves are firm, new leaves are coming out, and new roots, new healthy roots. So I find that this medium works very, very well for me. So going forward, once I purchase my Phalaenopsis orchids, I believe this is a medium that I'm going to be using because it works for me in my area. It not only works in the summer, but it also works during the colder months. Why? Because in the warmer months, yes, we will water a bit more often. However, in the colder months, you can water less, but then you will still have to water. And especially for persons like myself who likes to water, then we really need to strike that balance. And so this is what I'm going to use and repot this plant so that it will become established and looking just as nice and healthy as this other one. So in order to pot this, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to remove the spikes from it. So while we enjoy blooms, there are times when we have to sacrifice those blooms for the plant in order for the plants to become very healthy. And as I did show you earlier, there are some new roots coming from here, and so I'm going to cut right below the new roots. So I have removed it from that medium, and I'm also going to remove this bottom leaf. And so I am now going to rely on these roots for this plant to become established in my new medium. And I'm going to place it in this spot. I am also going to treat the area that I've cut with some cinnamon to ensure that it doesn't pick up any form of infection. So in this spot, I show you here, this is the medium I'm going to be using for fern bar, which is mixed with charcoal and gravel and small pieces of sphagnum moss. So I set it there, and all I'm going to do is just fill the pot with the medium, and that's it. There's another rule of thumb, guys. When you are planting Phalaenopsis orchids, just ensure that you tilt it a little bit, because if it is upright, there are times when you're watering, and once the water gets down into the center of the plant, it can cause crown rot. And therefore, how I plant my Phalaenopsis orchids, I basically tilt them slightly so that the water will run out and not necessarily sit into the crown of the plant. And then I place it in the pot. When you place it in the pot, you're not going to sink it all the way down to the bottom, because you want the roots to grow down. Alright, and just to foster additional moisture, especially because I basically just cut it, I'm gonna just put a few pieces of sphagnum moss on top of it to hold a little extra moisture. And there it goes. So this one, I'm gonna put it aside with the hope that it will send out at least another baby plant for me. So I am very hopeful. This is a tag. It's actually the golden tree, and I'm gonna place that tag in here. Now the next step is basically to water it to create some moisture, and then I will place it in my semi-shaded area for it to become established. Most of my phals are kept semi-shaded. I either keep them on my veranda or in a section of my greenhouse where it gets bright light but not a lot of sunlight. Okay, I am going to show you my star Phalaenopsis orchid that I actually have growing into my preferred medium. If you look at this one, how huge the leaves are compared to my hands. The leaves are really large. If you look at it, it's actually in a very big pot. If you notice around here, as I did point out, in this pot, it's actually in a gravel charcoal mix with some fern bark and a little bit of sphagnum moss. And I have it like that for years. And I tell you, when this orchid blooms, it puts on a spectacular show. I'm going to show you the spikes on it. So this is what it blooms, and it is really actually it has just finished bloom off. If you notice here, look at this one, how long it is. It has just finished bloomed off and actually is sending out some buds again on that old spike. So it has been blooming for months, and whilst it was there sending out some buds on that, it sent out another spike which has on it 5 different sections with buds right here. So if you notice here, this is one, this is another 3, 4 under here, and then the main one here, which is 5. So it just recently started opening, so you are not really experiencing the really extraordinary show that it is accustomed to putting on. But as it is now, it is full of buds, and in a few weeks from now, it will actually be giving me a spectacular show. So it really enjoys the medium that it is in. Where I keep this, I actually keep it at the front of my veranda where it faces the east, so it gets a little morning sun, and that's all the sun that it gets. I water it perhaps twice per week because it's in such a big pot and has a lot of medium in there. I don't have to water it every day because it has enough medium to retain the moisture and keep the plant going. So for the most part, I will water it twice per week, and it does pretty well. For the others that I have in my previous mix that has the peat and the perlite, as I did say to you, they still do pretty well. This is one of them. However, during this time of the year, in this medium, I perhaps water it once per week and perhaps just miss the leaves whenever I'm watering the next time around. However, because I like to water, I tend to want to water them pretty often, and so I water at least twice per week and I fertilize once per week. Whatever fertilizer I use on my other plants, that's the same fertilizer I use on my Phalaenopsis orchids. So depending on what I want to happen, if I recently pot them or repot them, then I will give it a high phosphorus fertilizer. When I want them to bloom, I give them a bloom booster. And basically that's how I grow my Phalaenopsis orchids in the different growing conditions. As I did show you, those that I have on the coconut husk, those are just becoming established, and I quite like that concept because when they're like this, I actually keep them outside, so they really do not get full sun, but they get some amount of sun because they're under the almond tree, and they seem to like it, and they are acclimatizing. This was just done a few months ago, and somehow they are still doing pretty well. Right, this beautiful one is in my previous orchid mix, so once it has finished blooming off, then I definitely will be repotting it, even though it seemed to be enjoying this medium. Another thing that I learned though, the size of the pot plays a very important role, because the smaller the pot, then the more water retentive medium that you will want. Because look at this one, it's in a very small pot, just about 4 inches, and it look at the size of the leaves. It is doing pretty well. It's actually here blooming now. It's already bloomed off and it is still blooming to the end of it, and look at the size pot it is in. So if the pots are small, then you can plant them in the water retentive medium, because at least they will keep the nutrients and the moisture a bit longer. However, once you have stepped up in terms of the size of the pot, then you have to be careful in terms of the medium, because you might end up getting root rot, or you underwater, and then it's not getting the amount of nutrients that it requires, and then you end up with a plant not looking as beautiful as it really can. So this is what I have here to show you today, how I grow my Phalaenopsis orchids and the different medium that I actually grow them in. I hope you learned something from this video today. And so if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And so you never miss another video, please subscribe to my channel. And as we say in Jamaica, just follow back on me. This is the Orchid Doc, and I am growing orchids in Manchester, Jamaica.